here to solve problems. The bigger, the better.
I'm ready to do something amazing with AI.
I'm going to build apps that change the world.
I'm a developer,
Data scientist.
Engineer.
architect, founder. We are builders.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Build. We are thrilled to have you join us today. This year's Build is bigger and more exciting than ever before, with more than 30 sessions and 20 in-person meetups happening all over the world. At this year's Summit and Snow Day, we talk about why the Snowflake Data Cloud is really the best choice for building applications. Now, at Build, our focus shifts on the how. Over the next 2 days, you will learn how to leverage many of the new capabilities of the Snowflake Data Cloud, including Snowflake Cortex, the Snowflake Native App Framework, Snowpark Container Services, Streamlits, LLMs, and so much more. But before diving in, I want to talk about the incredible journey we have been on. Snowflake started by transforming data analytics in the cloud with our unique architecture. We focused on eliminating data silos with direct data sharing and collaboration within and between companies, regardless of their geographic location or even cloud. Now, we have our sights set on disrupting application development by making the Snowflake Data Cloud the best place to build, run, distribute, and even monetize a new generation of AI-powered applications. And yes, you will be hearing a lot about AI in the next 2 days. AI is really redefining access to data. It's going to dramatically change how humans communicate with software and how software programs talk to each other. At Snowflake, we are very proud of the fact that we have one single product and that everything fits seamlessly together. And this is exactly the same lens that we brought to AI. We have integrated AI deep into the foundations of Snowflake. Our managed AI layer, Snowflake Cortex, unleashes the power of AI to builders, analysts, and even data scientists. We make using LLMs as easy as coding a function. And because Cortex includes search powered by the best vector databases, as well as information retrieval techniques, you will be able to easily create applications that you users will talk in natural language. These apps will generate SQL or API calls as needed, get the right answers, and show them to your users, especially with a rapid programming environment like Streamlit and Snowpark Container Services. So overall, our goal with AI is to make its benefits available to all users, wherever or however they use Snowflake today. So let's get things started. I would like to introduce Mona Attariyan, who leads our AI engineering team, to show you all the cool things the team is building. Mona, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Benoit. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Build. I'm super excited about everything that we're going to show you today. But before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about the trends that we are seeing in the AI space. The release of ChatGPT last year really shifted the entire landscape. It unleashed an unprecedented wave of innovation. Every week, there's a new LLM trained and unveiled. Startups are rushing to build that next LLM app that we can't live without. Developers across the world, just like many of you, are experimenting with Gen AI and LLMs. And really, our whole industry is racing to redefine the future of AI application stacks. It's an incredibly exciting time for our industry. We are seeing an even faster pace of innovation in the open source community. The release of Llama 2 family of models, along with Code Llama earlier this year by Meta, really opened the floodgates. These are the first large foundational models that have permissive commercial licenses. On Hugging Face alone, just over the past couple of months, these models are downloaded millions of times, and thousands of new models are built based on these, which is just absolutely incredible. At Snowflake, we have been pretty active in this space as well. Just over the summer at our summit, we unveiled a lot of AI capabilities, but we topped that with an even longer and more impressive list of AI functionalities and announcements just a month ago at Snow Day. That included our LLM-powered Copilot, as well as our easy-to-use and managed Cortex functions, which we are going to show you more today. At Snowflake, our goal remains the same. We bring easy-to-use, secure and governed AI to your data, so you can use machine learning and LLMs in your everyday analytics in just seconds, build LLM apps and deploy them in just minutes, and do more complex workflows like fine-tuning in just hours without having to worry about any of the infrastructure complexities. So drink up your coffees, set aside your phones. I want your full attention, because today we're going to show you a lot of cool stuff that you can now do inside Snowflake. We're going to show you how to use LLMs out of the box. We're going to show you how to fine-tune an LLM so you can get your own custom model. And then we're going to wrap it up all in a Snowflake native app so you can share it with your whole organization and on Marketplace and even monetize it. Are you all ready? Fantastic. OK, I would love to introduce my very good friend Jeff Hollan to the stage to help us show this to you all. Welcome to Build.
It's great to be here, Mona.
Fantastic to have you.
Man, it's very exciting, and we're going to show everyone here just how easy it really is to build AI apps in Snowflake.
We will. All right, ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
While Jeff sets up his laptop, let me tell you what we're trying to do today. In the far, far north, there's this mysterious company called Frosty Toys, which gets pretty busy during the holiday seasons. Frosty Toys specializes in understanding toy trends, what toys are popular in different locations. It's really an analytics company. So one of the ways that Frosty Toys collects the information about the trends is via its 800 Frosty phone line. People call this phone line to basically share their holiday wish list for themselves, their family, and their friends, and they talk to Frosty, which is a voice bot. They get a chance to win some of these items too by calling this phone line. So as you might imagine, this phone line has gotten quite popular. The problem, though, is that these transcripts, the call transcripts, are often pretty long. They are free-form. They don't have a lot of structure to them. There's a lot of interesting information, very valuable information in them, but it's really hard to extract that information. So what we're going to do today, we are going to use LLMs to extract that information. Keep in mind that this information is very sensitive and valuable to Frosty Toys. So we are going to bring the LLMs to the data rather than the other way around. All right? OK. So what we're going to do, we're going to explore the data. We're going to use LLMs out of the box using Cortex functions. Let's do it.
Let's get started. OK, as you mentioned here, we have all of this great data in these transcripts. Let's find a way that we can actually find some value from it. The first problem that I have is not all of these transcripts are in English. So as I scroll down here, you'll notice there's a bunch that are in Spanish and German. I don't speak these. Let's get these all into a language so we can start to generalize them together. This is going to be where we're going to use that first Cortex function. What's great here is I've had to do zero setup ahead of time. And I'm going to write this simple little bit of SQL right here to call snowflake.ml.translate. What will happen is it's now sending these transcripts to that translate LLM running in Snowflake. And what we can see now is here were all the different transcripts in different languages. And here's the same transcripts, all in English. Mona, this was a single line of SQL. That's all it took.
Oh my God, I can't believe just with one line. Awesome. All right, so we translated everything. So now take a more concrete example. Let's say we want to extract the toy names and their locations from these transcripts. How can we do that with Cortex?
Yeah, right, because it's still super long, right? I want to parse out, like you said, location, toy name. We're going to now use another Cortex function called complete. Now, what complete lets me do is send this data along with a prompt to an LLM running in Snowflake. Specifically, here we're going to be sending it to the Llama 2 70 billion parameter LLM. This is actually a huge LLM. I don't have to worry about running it, though. It's already running here for me in my Snowflake account. Now, for the prompt, let's give it the instructions for the things that you just mentioned. So I'm going to ask this LLM, hey, return not the transcript. I want you to actually return a JSON object. This puts it in a semi-structured format. And let's pull out the things you mentioned, location, and the toys requested. So just by writing this very simple prompt and calling this core text function, we passed in a transcript. Check it out. Now that very long transcript became Sydney, and in this case, a Barbie science lab. So I'm just going to take that exact same pattern and run it across a bunch of these transcripts. And again, in a matter of seconds, like we said, I now have here this great table that has all of the different transcripts and the toys that are being requested.
Very nice. This was super easy to do. Fantastic. Okay. So one thing that I noticed is that we have a slightly different names for some of these toys. I think people are just referring to the same toy with like slightly different names. There's Barbie Dream House, Barbie House, Barbie Dream House 2023. So this is going to throw off our analysis a little bit. It would be great if we can just canonicalize the name to the same toy name like across all of these. So there are multiple ways to do this. One way is called few-shot prompting, where we basically give the LLM more instructions right in the prompt. For example, as Jeff's showing, just the map of the canonical names. And then we also give it a few examples of how to follow this map and the new instructions. Just write in a prompt. Let's try it. Let's see how it works.
While you were talking, I decided to run it in Cortex. It's just that fast.
Okay, all right.
I
need to talk faster. I see.
But it works. So you'll
amazing.
see here, before where we had two different names, now it's canonicalized them just by using that few-shot prompting.
Awesome. All right. We did a lot in very short period of time. Okay, let's pause. Tell us again, what was unique about what you just did?
Yeah, so I started with data. Much like many of you have data. Now, you're probably not working at Frosty Toys and you have transcripts from a toy hotline, but you likely have transcripts or text from other things, customer support, contracts, you name it. What made this unique is I was able to immediately get value and insight from my data without me as the developer having to build or run a bunch of infrastructure. I simply called these core text functions. This was incredibly productive for me, and now I'm getting much better insight from all this data in Snowflake.
Beautiful. So do you have aggregate accuracy results for us? How is this model doing?
Yeah, so I've written some code that can calculate when we use that few-shot prompting, how are the results? It's not bad, actually. For English, across 765 samples, 94% of the time, we get those canonical toy names in the formatting that we want. Spanish is a little worse. It's at 74%.
Awesome. You've achieved a lot with just a little bit of coding. So now, if you want to get even more accurate results, what we can do is to fine-tune an LLM. That's what we are going to do next. We are going to use an open source LLM inside Snowpark Container Services and fine-tune it for this use case. Shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit more advanced here. So as Mona said, we're going to move to Snowpark Container Services. That's going to give us some NVIDIA accelerated containers so we can actually create a custom LLM specifically for this task. Now remember these numbers, 94%, 74%. My goal is to make those even more accurate. Now to make it easier to follow along, I've put a Jupyter interface on top of these containers. So let me switch to that now, and I'll walk you through the steps required to fine-tune a model that you all can follow as well. So the first thing, I need a training data set. So I'll show here right now an example. We have hundreds of these rows that have a sample of a transcript and the exact output that we're looking for. So these are the canonical toy names, the formatting, everything is there. Now I'm going to train or fine-tune a base model with this data set. Now here using Snowpark ML, I'm actually connecting to Hugging Face to pull in another Llama 2 model. This is actually the 7 billion parameter model. You might remember that's smaller than the 70 billion one that Cortex was giving, but that's not bad because 70 billion actually makes it a bit more manageable for us to fine tune, and I'll be able to do that entirely just in this single container image. So I've got the model, I've got the trained data set, now I can run train. What I love about this step is that I'm doing all the training here in my Snowflake account. The data never leaves, the model never leaves, it stays fully governed right here in my account. Now, we've trained a model, let's see how it performs. The moment of truth, you remember that 94% and 74%? With this new fine-tuned custom LLM that I've created, this is now 98% and 80%. So we are actually getting more accurate results with this fine-tuned model.
Fantastic. This is awesome. Okay. I love this model. Can we use it?
Let's use it. Let's make it available for the team first. Snowpark's going to make that very helpful using the Snowflake model registry. So I want to put this in our catalog of all the models that our team might be using across our data. Not too bad to do at all. Here, I'm creating a custom LLM. So this is now our own personal LLM, and I'm going to log it in the Snowflake registry. This means that everyone in my team and organization can find it, they could improve it, they could run it. But just having it registered isn't enough. I actually need it running. I want to connect it to our data the same way those Cortex functions connected to my data. Now, if you've ever worked with LLMs before, you know that actually requires a whole lot of work just from having the model. I need to find an LLM runtime. I need to get it hosted in a secure way. I want it to be performant. I want to make sure I can send lots of data to it. Now, what's amazing here with Snowflake, I love this. Check this out. I'm not going to spend the next 25 minutes building all of those pieces together. Snowflake has made this so easy. All I have to do is write this single line of code. I love this code right here. Model.deploy, because it's doing all of those things. It's putting the LLM in a performant runtime, hosting it in Snowpark Container Services in my account. It's even registered it as a custom SQL function. This one's called Complete Fine-Tuned. So now anyone in my organization can start to use this LLM right away. One line of code.
That's very neat. That's really cool. Thank you so much, Jeff. Okay, this is fantastic. We got a really good model. It's deployed. It's ready to use. Let's use it. Let's do some analysis with it. So what we're going to do is to visualize all this data that we're extracting from the transcripts. For that, we're going to use a Streamlit. For those of you who are not familiar with the Streamlit, just check it out. It's the most powerful thing to build data apps in Python with. So we have a Streamlit app. Let's just connect the LLM that we built to it.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, as excited as I am about that complete fine-tune, if I try to give that SQL function to the CEO, he's not going to know what to do with it. So Streamlit is such a great tool to have in your toolkit, because I can build beautiful visuals right here in Snowflake that anybody in the organization can use. So as you mentioned, we have the starting of an app here. I want to actually connect this Streamlit app to that custom LLM we just trained. So I have a button ready to go called Process. Let's make it so that when I press this button, I'll just push in some code here. Now, whenever I push this button in Streamlit, it's going to call that complete fine-tune method against my data. So we can go ahead and try this out now. We've connected the button to that LLM, which is running through that beautiful deploy command in my Snowflake account. Now check out what we have at the end. Just remember, 7 minutes ago, we were looking at tables and tables of unstructured, hard to parse data. And now with the power of Snowflake, I have this beautiful visualization that I could share with anyone in the organization. I see all of those toys that were being requested. I could even filter by region. Like, let's check out what's happening in Sydney. What are the most requested toys from our friends in Sydney? Maybe not surprisingly, our favorite Australian friend, Bluey, tops the list here. But this is incredible. And you all can do the exact same thing with your data, with the power of AI and Snowflake and Streamlit, pulling these insights together. It's really exciting.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. This is great. You know what? I want to be a Frosty Toys analyst now. This is awesome to do. OK, so we showed you how to use LLMs out of the box. We showed you how to fine-tune an LLM. And as promised, we are going to bring it all together with Snowflake native apps, so you can share it with your organization, you can share it on Marketplace, and even monetize it. For that, I'm going to introduce Qaiser Habib, who is our engineering lead for the applications team, to the stage. Thank you so much, Jeff. Come on.
Thank you, Mona.
What's up, Qaiser?
Good to see you, man. One of my favorite parts about working at Snowflake is the constant cutting-edge innovation that happens here. You all saw how awesome the demo that Jeff and Mona showed us was, but I hope you're ready to be wowed one more time, because I got something really cool to show you. Today, I'm going to talk about how we're changing the world of app development. At Summit last year, we introduced the Snowflake Native App Framework, which makes it easy to build powerful, data-intensive, and AI-enriched apps in the Data Cloud. You can use familiar Snowflake concepts to build these apps and easily distribute and monetize them on the Snowflake Marketplace. Now, let's pause here for a second and think about how game-changing this is because now your consumers no longer need to move or expose their data. Instead, your app comes to the consumer's data. All they have to do is install your app, run it in their account, and it just works. This also means that you, as developers, can now accelerate growth by dramatically cutting down your time to market and your sales cycles. The Snowflake Native App Framework is available for you to build today. We are in public preview already, and over 70 apps are already live, and they're seeing very strong traction. We aim to GA on AWS soon, and the Azure public preview and GCP private preview are coming right after. So, let's see how easy it is to build powerful apps with this framework, and what better way to do that than to build an actual app with it. So we're going to lean on our demo captain, Jeff, one more time. Jeff, are you ready?
Can you not tell I love this, Qaiser? Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's blow some minds. So before we jump in, I want to give some context on the app we're about to build. Remember the mysterious company Frosty Toys and the LLM and Streamlit UI that Jeff and Mona showed us earlier? Well, we've learned that many Snowflake customers are interested in this functionality because they want to use it for their own forecasting or to build ad campaigns. In fact, the LLM itself may also have a market of its own. So let's see how Frosty Toys can use the Snowflake Native App Framework to securely package all of this functionality and share it on the marketplace. All right, Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, this is great. And as a developer, I love this because now I can take the work that I've really already done for Frosty Toys, share it with the broader data cloud, make it available for every Snowflake user, and potentially unlock new revenue streams. So let's do that now. As mentioned, we want to take this same application, get it running so it's available in the Snowflake marketplace. Now remember, this actually has a lot of pieces to it. There's the Streamlit UI here, but there's also the fine-tuned LLM that's running behind the scenes, and also the data set itself that we want to include as part of this native application package. So you might be asking yourself, well, how do I get started? This sounds good enough. We've made that super easy for you. I'm going to be using my favorite editor of choice here, which is Visual Studio Code. Check this out. With the new Snowflake CLI, I can get started with any native app project with a single simple command. This is great. I have a blank project here. I'm going to run snow app init. I'm going to give it a name for Frosty Toys. And just like that, I'm not copying and pasting or digging around documentation. Everything that I need to get started to pull this together is right here for me in Visual Studio Code.
I have to say, as developers, the Snow CLI makes it so easy to get started with native apps. So Jeff, I noticed there's a bunch of files in your skeleton app there. Could you tell us a little bit more about them?
Yes, it looks a little scarier than it is, but I'll walk you through the important ones as you're building native apps that you'll want to know about. The first one is the manifest file. This is where I can describe all the important details about the application itself. So I have here the README file, which will be the documentation that folks can do to know what this native app does. The other super important one is the setup script. The setup script is where I define all of the things that happens when someone says install. If you think about it, you go to the Snowflake marketplace, you find an app, you say you want to get it. There's a lot of things that will happen. It's going to configure all of those resources. The setup script is where I, as a developer, describe all of those things. So here in our setup script, if you remember, we have a Streamlit app. Let's go ahead here and say, hey, I actually want in this native application to create a Streamlit app. So just by adding it to the setup script here now, whenever anyone would install this, they'll now get a Streamlit app. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit so I don't have to build the whole thing here live. This is that same setup script, and I've just filled it out. This has the Streamlit UI. I'm including that custom LLM running in a container as part of this native application, and even including the data set itself, which would now be installed for anyone who runs this native app.
Very cool. Thank you, Jeff. One thing that is very important to note here is that with Snowflake Native App Framework, you are in charge of how much access you want to give your consumers. So the stuff that you were showing here earlier, right? The container image running the LLM, the Streamlit code, all of the code that you write, none of that is shared with your consumers. On the flip side, the consumers control how the data gets plugged into the app, or even how compute resources are assigned to it. But what's really cool is that the data never gets shared back to Frosty Toys. Isn't that a win-win for both the provider and the consumer?
Yeah, I get the control I need, and the consumer gets the control of the data that they want.
Exactly, exactly. And that's pretty powerful. So Jeff, tell us what's next.
Well, before I put this on the marketplace, I do want to make sure it's all working so the installations don't fail. This is a big project though, right? It has all of these different pieces. Again, the Snowflake CLI is going to come to the rescue. This is one of my favorite new CLI commands. I'm going to run snow app run. What this does is it looks at my entire native apps project. It's going to configure all of those pieces, and you'll notice here in just a second, it's gone ahead and returned for me a URL running in my Snowflake account in development mode. So I can go ahead and click this now and find here is that Snowflake native app now running in my development account. So I can test this out. So let's test out the logic really quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and click this button. I'm glad I'm testing it out actually, because this is very embarrassing. There's a huge error exception here, but that's okay. I can see right away it's saying, hey, I'm trying to call this predice function. This is actually a typo. I meant to write predict here. The T and the Y are too close together, but I found it right away. So I can just come back here to my code. I'm going to find that line of code. There's that predice. That should be predict. But check this out. Found it really quickly. Now I want to get it all working again. Again, snow app run. I run that command, it detects the change that I made, and very, very quickly, now is returned back for me a fully working version of the native app. An incredible development experience here.
Very cool, very cool. Great, so now we have an app, it works, we can look at it. Can you tell us how we can put this out there on the marketplace so that Snowflake customers can discover it and install it?
Yeah, so I'm now going to publish this to the marketplace. It's going to be reviewed and now available in the marketplace for any Snowflake user. So imagine now I'm a toy retailer and I hear about this incredible Frosty Toys app and the amazing team who built it, and I want to install it for myself. Well, in my toy retailer Snowflake account, I could discover and see now the Frosty Toys native app, just like this listing here. I want to get this all running in my account with my data. Could not be easier. Even though behind the scenes, this is running some pretty incredible AI technology, a custom LLM, a Streamlit application. All I have to do here is click the Get button. It's now going to configure and install this entire native application in my Snowflake account. So once this is finished installing, I'll go ahead and switch here to the version that's been installed, and let's check out how this works. This is going to look very familiar to you. I'm in a different Snowflake account now, but here is that same Streamlit application. I've been able to package everything together, and better yet, Frosty Toys has this extra additional revenue stream from the marketplace and the native application.
That UI looks beautiful, by the way. Great job there. One very important feature I want to talk about for the consumers is references. So references are a way for the consumers to bring their data to the app, right? If, for example, I'm a retailer, I have my own information about demand that I want to plug into the model. All I have to do is just navigate to the shield there and point to the specific tables or other objects that I want the app to have secure access to, and the app will pick it up at install time. Isn't that powerful?
Yeah, it's great. This is where now I can choose and say, hey, I've got some useful data that I want to add to this, and I have full control over the data that I share.
Great. So by now, we have an app. It's on the marketplace. It can be installed. And Jeff, any guesses how many installs Frosty Toys will get from this?
Is 1 billion too high? Is that, am I setting my sights too high?
I like it. I like it a lot. Great. By now, you've seen how powerful the Snowflake native app framework is. I hope you're going to try it for yourself. And if you need a little bit motivation, we got your back. Don't worry. We just launched this Powered by Snowflake funding program, which will invest in early stage startups building Snowflake native apps up to $100 million. We have 10 leading venture capital firms involved in the program, and AWS is adding up to $1 million in Snowflake credits over 4 years. So what are you waiting for? Check out the Powered by Snowflake Startup Program page to learn more. And that concludes our demo. Jeff, thank you for being an awesome partner throughout. I want to say one thing. Right now is an incredible time to build and disrupt the world of AI and app development. And so throughout the rest of this conference, you will hear firsthand from the awesome engineers who are building the Snowflake features and the ones using them to redefine application development across so many industries and so many use cases. You will also hear very cool and inspiring stories and insights from our speakers, one of whom I'm particularly excited about today. Dr. Andrew Ng, who is a professor at Stanford and chairman and co-founder of Coursera. He's also the founder and CEO of Landing.ai. Dr. Ng, welcome to Build.
So thank you, Qaiser. Hello, builders. It is good to see you here. We're at an important moment in AI where developer tools like the ones you just saw are making it easier than ever before to use your data to build and ship new AI applications. In addition to the new AI technology, as Benoit said, the reduction or elimination of data silos is another huge force enabling this. Let me briefly summarize where I think we are in AI and why I think the opportunity right in front of us right now is so exciting. For much of the last decade, a lot of machine learning and AI work has been built on structured data, machine learning on tables of data, the giant databases that's created a lot of value. Most of this was done using what's called supervised learning, which is good at learning to map from inputs to outputs. For example, in retail, mapping from a user's past purchases to a new product recommendation. Or in finance, mapping from an attempted transaction to whether it seems fraudulent. But the momentum of generative AI now gives us new tools to process unstructured data, specifically text, and increasingly also images and perhaps audio. This opens up significantly the set of things we can now all build. Now, over the last decade, many developers and businesses have started to realize the value of applying supervised learning to structured data. One problem that a lot of companies have was the creation of data silos. Every time a company built or bought a new solution, they often created yet another data silo. And so we needed tools to put data together, to have more centralized ways to access data so that with a platform from which to pull data to feed our AI applications. And of course, we all know Snowflake has done that beautifully. But now that we have these data platforms, it means that the next wave of AI development can be easier than the last one. AI is a general purpose technology, meaning it's not useful just for one or two things. It's useful for a lot of different tasks, kind of like electricity. If I were to ask you, what is electricity good for? That's actually hard to answer because it's useful for so many different things. And AI is like that too. I'm guessing that after seeing Jeff's demo, you might be thinking things like, maybe I can use it to automate some of my customer service operations. Or maybe you'll be thinking, my company has a lot of internal documentation. Maybe I can build a QA app to help answer questions based on that documentation. Or maybe you're thinking, maybe I can use this to process and route emails internally. There are two patterns that I hope you pay attention to in terms of coming up with ideas for what you can build. I'll talk about text data first, but the same pattern can also be applied, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow with image and video data. But the pattern is this. Ask yourself, what text data do you have in your data warehouse? Then brainstorm if there's value in processing that data more systematically, for example, by tagging or labeling that text data to turn it into more structured data. That was the first pattern. Here's the second one for coming with ideas. It turns out that AI doesn't automate jobs. I think of it as more useful as a developer to think of it as automating tasks, and jobs are bundles of tasks. So I'll often help businesses look at jobs, break the jobs down into many different tasks involved, and then look at automation opportunities among the tasks. So the second pattern is, ask yourself what text is being generated by people in your organization or by your customers. If you look at where people are doing tasks that involve primarily reading text, writing text, or in some cases, speaking out loud words or text, that could inspire opportunities for automation using generative AI on text. And the wonderful thing about where we are in AI is that with tools like Llama, which Jeff had just demoed running, the complexity of building an AI system to process data, to maybe demo your application to your colleagues, and get traction that's shorter than ever before. Just last weekend, I was messing around with an LM on my laptop and I wanted to build an app. My favorite app prototyping tool is Streamlit, and it turns out that GPT-4 is really good at writing Streamlit code. So I find that if I want to throw something together and if I'm too lazy to read the Streamlit documentation, then I get GPT-4 to take a first cut implementing it, and then I'll fix it up. And in minutes, I can often get a running Streamlit app, which is exactly what I was able to do in about 20 minutes sitting and working on my laptop in a coffee shop over the weekend. And while the text processing revolution is already here and people can prototype in tens of minutes or maybe very small numbers of hours, I see the image processing revolution as coming next. And tools are also starting to arrive that similarly make it really easy to process your image data in addition to your text data. And I'll talk more about this tomorrow. But coming back to where we are today, we just saw great demos by Mona, Qaiser, and Jeff. And one thing I hope you remember from this is that developer tools are making it easier than ever before for you to build and deploy AI applications. Whether you're a software engineer or business analyst thinking of building your first AI application, or whether you're a PhD in AI thinking of building your 100th, it is now much easier than it has ever been. This also means that the world is poised to have a lot more AI applications in the near future. After the invention of electricity a century ago, it took many people many years to identify and build the many things that electricity turned out to be useful for. I feel we're at an important inflection point in AI, and all of us have important work ahead of us to identify, prototype, and get new AI applications built. So, let's go build. Thank you.